Was when I was 9. I asked God to come into my life, non-denominational homeschool. God had been showing us like so much. I always didn't know like when if my dad could die. Oh, maybe he'll die in a few minutes. I had so many hopes that our family would just reunited. I regarded people pretty highly. Like, the world just tells us we want to. It's admitting myself more to God, and He can just use me so much more. And He can do this for all of us. This is my testimony of how God has worked in my life. I mean, obviously, like, there's so many details. It's hard to, like, cover everything. So, just, like, the gist of it. I grew up in Indiana with mom and brothers and a dad. Right now, I'm in Nebraska. That is a little bit of a story in and of itself. Ever since I can remember to the age of 14, my dad had lived with my family and I, and, well, because united with us, we thought, he faked illnesses. A number of them. And I mean, like, some of them he didn't even get tested for, so I can't, like, say for sure he had this and this and this. But for most of them, at least most of them, were pretty severe. The typical would be, like, first he's choking, then he, like, eventually collapses on the floor. Sometimes he would stop breathing for, like, a few seconds. That would happen, like, all the time, basically. There was a few years it didn't happen as much, but, yeah, for most of my life, I'm 16 right now, so most of my life, that's what I, like, lived with, and that was, like, pretty hard. My mom usually worked full-time. My brothers and I would take care of our dad while our mom was gone. When I was 9, I think it was when I was 9, I asked God to come into my life. I had went to this play with my grandparents, but, I mean, it was something, like, I had struggled with, like, afraid I was gonna go to hell, and I just, like, had this really strong feeling, like, that I needed to do something about it. And I think, like, after going to that play, just, yeah, something in me just stirred up. The play is about the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. And then I remember just, like, the next day and so on, just feeling so much peace. I was like, this is so incredible. I've got to tell everybody. And so I would go around telling people, Jesus loves you. I just did all these little, like, small things, but to me they were, like, so big. And I remember, like, I was, like, so scared, like, of people that just telling a stranger Jesus loves you was, like, terrifying to me. I was, like, somewhere along the lines of, like, 9 and 11, I was, like, so set on fire for God. Somewhere along the age of, like, 10, 11, 12, I was getting, like, night terrors. Like, every single night. Specifically, before I would go to sleep, and I would, like, be up for hours, just, I don't even know why. I would just, like, get so terrified. Just one day, God was pressing on my heart, just, like, very suddenly, God can take me out of this. And I was like, how did I not even, like, see this that clearly, like, before? I was so confused with myself. But, so then I, like, really tried to do that. I guess, like, seeking God to help me overcome these fears. And, yes, then, like, eventually I just didn't have that anymore. Or to that extent. Also, around the age of, like, for about a year in 11 and 12, I got depression. This time is super hard school. For me, it was super hard. I just had so much school. And that on top of depression was just really hard. And, like, especially being strong in faith. The only thing I grabbed onto that God was real, like, that I knew within myself that God was real, was, because we had watched this movie called, I think it's called Finding Noah. I think that's what it's called. And it was like they're trying to find the ark in it, and they have it's like real life. It's not just like a movie. I guess it would maybe be more like a documentary. I don't know. But yeah, they're trying to find the ark, and they find all this, like, evidence. And then I was like, well, it looks like they have enough evidence that I can, like, lean upon that to know that God is real. Because I felt so far from him. About a year having depression, I was like, I would be about 12 and a half. So my mom had me start seeing a doctor. After a few months of seeing him, then my depression was, like, basically gone. And, you know, like, kind of just slowly faded off. I will say the worst it got was I started screaming, and just, like, randomly, kind of, like, if something just got even, like, a little bit more stressful than normal, and, like, let's say a glass jar broke, I would just, like, break out in tears, like I accidentally broke something. We weren't actually sure, like, what, like, really this depression was, because I think there can be, like, sort of different types. But anyways, yeah, after seeing the doctor, I was doing a lot better. So this doctor, the first time he came over, he, like, prayed for me, and, like, I've never even heard of a doctor that does that. That's, like, just really cool. He's a natural doctor, and he would, like, be teaching us, like, about all kinds of things about God, like, when he'd come, and, you know, he'd talk about health, like, a lot, but he would also, like, teach us a lot about God. You know, like, okay, so we've always been, like, you know, call ourselves Christians, but we weren't very deep into, like, being Christian. We are non-denominational, and my brothers and I were homeschooled. I just thought I'd add that in there. Right before we had, like, a month before, he had invited us to go to their house or something. Or maybe 2 months before. God had been showing us, like, so much, like, about following him. It, like, totally changed our lives. And after, like, the first 2 weeks of, like, changing, like, how we live, like, even, like, starting to, one of the things was keeping the Sabbath. And, like, even after, like, the first 2 weeks, I just remember thinking, like, wow, this is, like, I feel so much closer to him. And it was just so incredible. I was like, everybody needs to know this. Like, there's so many things we've been lied to about. And apparently this doctor and his family, we find out they believe, like, very closely alike with us. It was just really cool. And they were only, like, they're the only people that we knew, like, in real life, that we'd ever met, like, in real life, that believed, like, kind of the same way as us, but we, like, there are thousands and thousands, and maybe even about 1 million people who believe the same way. Around that time, my dad had quit work, because he was just, like, getting so bad. Like, he had quit work on and off throughout the years, and usually when he'd go to job interviews, like, I don't know if it was, like, 50, with how much, my mom has, like, how much I've heard from her. I mean, maybe, like, 20 to 50, I don't know, job interviews that he went to, and each one would just decline him, and, now we know that, he was purposely doing that, making it so he wouldn't get the job, because he didn't want to work, which I'm not, like, trying to hold things against him. It's just, like, that's what I grew up with, so, and, yeah, what I've experienced, and my dad is a part of that. Like, I just don't want to be, sounding like I'm condemning anybody. Then from, like, that point of my dad staying home, for, like, 2 years, from then to, like, 2 years, I was taking care of my dad, like 6 hours, you know, like 5 days a week. I was just, like, taking care of him a lot, and, like, for those 2 years, from, like, about 13 to 14, and, that was really hard on me. Sometimes I remember I would just, like, feel so hopeless, like, is this ever gonna end? And I would, like, be praying all the time that God would save me from it, like, that he would heal my dad. At the age of 13, my family and I were really, really just, God was pressing on us that he wanted us to move. And we didn't know where or how or when. We just like really felt like he wanted us to move. And we thought it was because that way our dad would do better, like maybe different altitude or out in the country. We were thinking about like moving out in the country in Indiana because like we had been to our grandparents for like a weekend or something, and he seemed to be doing a lot better there. Just started like really getting ready. Like we had years before because we'd like been planning on moving, and we might have like felt even like years before that we were supposed to, but this year's like we definitely really felt like we were supposed to. So we like painting the house, buying all kinds of stuff for it to fix it up. My mom had bought it for like mostly my mom bought it for $50,000. So it was in pretty rough shape when they got it at first, and she ended up selling it for like $110,000. I think that was like a gift from God. The marketing like went way up right when we were moving. The realtor was like, "You're moving at like a perfect time." Anyways, I have not gotten to that point yet. I'm not there yet. So that year, God led us to go on this vacation to Nebraska. My brother had been into fossils and really invested into it, and so my mom was like, we'll see if we can take you to some type of fossil place for vacation this year, since we go on vacation typically every year. Yeah, I think we do it every single year. So like for a week. And so yeah, we went to Nebraska, and it was quite an adventure. When we were there, I remember we kept saying, "Oh, why have we not moved here yet?" You know, just jokingly. But I really felt like when we were there, which I'm here right now, that we were supposed to move there. I really felt that. I felt like this is like our new home. I felt like our home in Indiana wasn't really our home anymore. Like I felt like God was like ripping us away from that. Like in our hearts, like just like making us feel that way. That's at least how I felt. And my mom, like I remember before we went on vacation, she was saying, "I feel like there's more of a reason that we're going than for my older brother to go fossil hunting." Be like 24 hours. No, it might have even been like 12 hours after we got back home, which it takes like 16 hours there and back from there to Nebraska. It's a pretty long drive. We got home at like close to midnight, and the next day, I think it was the next day, that we're like getting ready to move. We were that desperate because our dad was just like doing so bad. Like he's just been getting worse and worse and worse. And I had also got adrenal fatigue, and I don't know if that's like, I think a lot of people are pretty familiar with that. Mine was like very, I would say to me, it seemed pretty severe. I eventually got to, so I was taking vitamins. I was taking like healthy ones, not like medication. I still couldn't do like normal everyday hobbies, even though I was taking vitamins. So I have a feeling it was pretty severe. You know, my dad was doing absolutely horrible. Like, it seemed like he was almost dying every day. I didn't know. So I always didn't know like if my dad could die. Oh, maybe he'll die in a few minutes. I never knew. Sometimes I would even just like stare at my dad, like, you know, he'd be like basically like had fainted, and I'd just be staring at him for like 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes it'd even be that, just to make sure he's breathing. And there was also just like a lot of other things that just felt really burdensome where we were living. And a few months back, like when we had been on vacation, we felt like so much better out in Nebraska. And so I was expecting that when we would move there, because so by this point we didn't even know where we were going to move in Nebraska, but I was expecting whenever we're going to move there, however, that'll feel so much better. And so I was really just like trying to hang in there, basically just hang in there. I remember thinking I was in so much pain. I didn't even know how I would live like another year. That's how terrible it was. I was just like, I don't even see how that's even possible. Vacation. After we went on vacation, it was 2 months later that we moved to Nebraska. Really felt this pressure, like I was like telling us to move, like, and like it was just like quickly, very urgent. Like we just had to get there as fast as we could, basically. And our house sold in like a month. It got put up. Our realtor was very good. Romansky Group. The first day it got put on the market, there was 3 house showings, and there's just like so much was going on. I think that was probably the most busy 2 months of my entire life. We moved to Nebraska, and what was interesting, okay, so like God has, some people call them holidays or holy days. The night that we were moving, one of his holy days began, the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot. And our friend, a doctor, was like, oh wow, you guys are having like a real life Sukkot, because like that's what it like resembles something with, I either have to ask him or I have to look it up, because I don't remember for sure like everything that this feast day resembles. Sukkot. It was like the Israelites, something about the Israelites intense. That was pretty cool. And I think that was like at least one sign. It was one of those signs that this was the right thing to do. So then we moved to a town in Nebraska. And we started meeting like a lot of new people, and God was just like constantly working in our lives. It just, ever since we like, our beliefs like totally changed, like that time that I was talking about, he has just been there so much for us. And that's why we had like, okay, so let me explain something. All this like struggling and pain and stuff, like when we were in Indiana, so that way when we moved to Nebraska, we would see like this revelation. It's just something just incredible. Like he healed us. Like we felt so much better out there. My adrenal fatigue, the day we moved out here, it was just gone completely. And before, like, it was even hard to walk. We needed a new beginning. But we thought we were moving out there for our dad. It's like, ever since I can remember, my dad, like, it's almost like, you know, like it's kind of like we were tied in chains. Like, our dad, like, faking illnesses. It's like we were tied in chains, and then, like, right before we moved, like, all this horrible stuff starts happening. So, like, that was, God showed me that was, like, our Egypt. Just, like, so much bondage. So it was, like, that was our Egypt. So God began to take us out of that Egypt. And so, like, us moving to Nebraska, I don't know if that's, like, the first step, or I don't know, that he began to take us out of this Egypt. It feels like now, looking back, that we were, like, entering a wilderness. You know, like a wilderness season. So many other people can tell you the same thing. Yeah, like, we went through this Egypt, and then we went through a wilderness. You know, like, a season of Egypt, a season of wilderness. Not that Indiana is Egypt, just for our circumstances. Like, people say, then you reach the, like, your promised land. But once you reach the promised land, you gotta be really careful, not to forget God, not to forget how great he is, not to forget everything he's done for you. I mean, I don't think I've reached, like, my promised land yet, but I just know, like, it's pretty easy to, like, get sidetracked on everything else. After we moved to one place in Nebraska, then we moved to a different town, not too far away from the other one, just because of, like, some difficulties. We weren't renting before, so it's nice to have our own house, and it was nice because my mom could just go ahead and pay off the whole house. It was only like $70,000, so that was like a blessing. that there was this person, like, calling, like, a business person calling my mom, and she was to help her with her debts. She's like, I don't have any debts. And the person's, like, still trying to convince her that, she needs this thing. And she's like, I literally don't have any debts. And she's like, what? Wait, what? Like, are you serious? My mom had completely paid everything off. And I believe that's also a blessing from God, because in His Word, He says it's like a blessing if you're not in a debt. And if you are, you should probably try to get out of it, just to save yourself some, any destruction. My dad was like, yeah, he was doing just first few months, seemed like he was doing a little bit better than before, but then he just started getting, like, really bad again. We started really noticing that there's, like, demons in him. And my mom was even, like, talking about bringing him to this health place in California. We really didn't know what to do. And eventually, like, my mom brings him to the hospital, which we are not, like, super known for doing, unless we, like, actually think we really need to, which is, like, hardly ever. Like, so many people were helping us out. Sometime after my dad had been home from the hospital sometime, that he told us that it was fake. Completely everything was fake. And it hadn't hit me at first, because, like, it's just so sunk into me that my dad was, like, always sick, that, like, I didn't even believe him, like, at first. But then, like, after, it might have been, like, half a day or a few hours, I finally realized, like, it was actually true. I know it's, like, maybe not, like, that long, but then he was, like, pretending, like, that he had repented, and even, like, renewing his vows with my mom, and then, like, a couple days later broke them. He even, like, signed this paper, like, the vows, and I even took a video, and then just a few days broke it. It's, like, somewhere around, like, sometime after that, he had, like, one day, my mom came home, because, like, he hadn't been going to work. He told my mom that he was going to be leaving that weekend. She was, like, and, like, what was going through my head was, like, whoa, is he, like, leaving forever? And I remember I just froze, like, when I heard that. I had not heard, okay, the only stuff I had heard about it was, like, he was talking about leaving before. I didn't actually think he was serious. I don't know if I thought it was from God or what, but now I know that it was this feeling of that he was going to leave. He was actually starting to get mean. He was yelling, and he wasn't really, like, known for that before. We didn't know him to be like that. And my mom was, like, asking me, like, if I'd be okay if she, like, kicked him out, like, if I would be mad at her if things got worse enough. And I was like, I just want what God wants. And I didn't actually, like, I just thought it was, like, kind of absurd to even, like, think about it. I was just, like, had so many hopes that our family would be just reunited, and he would, like, come to true repentance. But yeah, that never happened. And my mom had actually been praying about it, and so we knew that him leaving was actually the right thing. And we realized that it wasn't because we didn't move out here because of our dad, but at least one reason that we moved out here was for us, because if we would have been in Indiana when he left, then, like, if we would have, like, lived close by or something, that just would have been super hard, just being in Indiana with our dad leaving, like, if it would have happened that way. So then we could really see, like, we could understand the picture more of what God was doing, which was cool. I was also, like, after this, I was, like, holding a grudge against my dad, and really struggling, like, even to the, okay, so I got to the, even, like, the point of, this was, like, only a few months of, like, really holding a grudge against him, so it wasn't, like, a terribly long time. I was thinking, oh, I need to give myself time. I eventually got to the point of, though, that I was almost even thinking of, like, okay, well, I was thinking of, like, what if I just, like, prayed my dad, like, would die? And once I started, like, thinking that, then I was, like, realized that I had, like, taken this too far. I think that God has been giving him, like, more than second chances, like, so many chances, and it's actually, think about it, it's actually really cool, like, because just God's love is so amazing, so wide, depth, length, I don't know, something, how Paul says it. A few months after my dad had left, my mom is talking, like, one morning talking about, she's not, like, talking about, like, anyone specifically, or just, she's not condemning any of my brothers and I, she's just talking about that, like, if we hold on to unforgiveness, it can, like, make us bitter, and she's, like, discussing that. And it was then that I realized that I do need to forgive my dad. It was a little bit interesting. My hands started vibrating while I was trying to forgive him. As soon as I was able to forgive him, my hands stopped vibrating. I was like, how do I even, like, what does forgiveness really look like? How do I even forgive him? God showed me that forgiveness, like, it's not you pointing your sword at your enemy, like, defending yourself. And he showed me it's like having your sword, like, you're surrendering your sword to the ground. And basically you're just, like, bending down and you're like, I'm not going to harm you, to your enemy. So God gave me, like, that imagery, so that really, like, helped me. We hardly ever go to the pool. Like, the only times we've gotten, okay, some of the only times I've been to the pool, like, the past couple years, was these 2 days, this one day that, you know, okay, that day that I forgave my dad, it just happened to go to the pool. And this lady, I think God was like, yes, God was like, you're gonna be baptized today. Like, after making this huge decision. Even there's this lady at the pool, like, I do not swim. I basically don't. And she was like, I'm gonna teach you how to swim. There's just this lady there. And I did not know who she was. And, like, I was just, like, kind of holding onto the bars. And so she was helping with that. And I, like, would dunk under the water a few times. And I really think that was God, like, baptizing me after I chose forgiveness. There was just so much peace in my life. Like, it was just so much more peaceful. Like, after letting go of that, I felt so much more free. Life was just so much better. I was, like, 15 and a half, huge revelation in my life. Maybe I should start off as I was kind of more lukewarm. I didn't really, like, read, like, I tried to read the Bible, but it would usually be, like, I would wait, like, a few weeks, and then I'd be, like, maybe reading, like, either a little bit or, like, 10 chapters at a time, like, every couple weeks to a month. I don't know, it'd be like that, and then, like, praying to God, it'd be, like, my prayer life wasn't super fruitful. A lot of times I'd be, like, praying about things, like, I'd be just, like, impulsively praying about things, and, just so worried, like, oh gosh, should I do this or this or this? I don't know, I'm so confused. Not, like, a super close relationship with God. I've had a lot of crushes in my life, this is a little bit embarrassing to say, but I think, for the most part, I think most people do. Especially teenagers. I regarded people pretty highly, and I looked up to people a lot. Like, oh, they're so much better than me, and I'd, like, compare myself with others, like, all the time. And just taking so much influence from the world in wrong ways. Like, trying to be, like, how can I be the coolest, best person ever? Because I wanted to be liked by people. I wanted to be known as this awesome person. I don't even think I was thinking about it. But God asked me, do you really want to get married? I don't know if I was thinking about, like, anything about that or not, like, that point. But he asked me, do you really want to get married? I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm not actually sure. Like, the world just tells us we want to. And, like, they tell us it's, like, this huge deal. Like, you absolutely have to. Like, at this point, I believe that God was taking me through that point of, like, really thinking, like, maybe I don't actually want to get married. And then, like, being okay with that. And just actually being, like, feeling joy about it. Just wanting to be the bride of Messiah. I believe God showed me this. Maybe not necessarily that he doesn't want me to ever get married. I mean, I would still be totally great with that. But, like, either way, it's totally great. Because I just want to be the bride of Messiah. Part of the bride of Messiah. I don't know. Some people are like, I'm the bride of Messiah. And it's like, it's so weird. Like, some people, ladies think that, which is super weird. Yeah, I'm not into any of that. It's just super weird. But anyways, I believe God was showing me this because I had been too obsessed with boys. And I needed to take my eyes off of people and fix my eyes on God. And yeah, like that was like so huge. Like it can be hard, but it's just so worth it. Just taking your eyes off of people and placing your eyes on God. It is absolutely incredible, and that was such a huge thing that took place in my life, that like, God worked in my heart. That night, he had me get baptized again. Just we went to the pool, like we hardly ever went. And this night, we just happened to go. And yeah, I like went all the way under the water. Like after just longing to just be part of the bride of Messiah, and not even caring like if I'm gonna get married in my life or not caring like about the coolest things or being a cool person. Like I just felt so much peace. My whole life, like it totally like started changing a lot. And I started just, ever since then, I've been like so drawing closer to God. Closer I've been drawing to God, the more he reveals to me like his purpose for me. A lot of us don't know our purpose because we don't really know or know very well like the one who made us, the one who has a purpose for us. God started showing me that he wants me to be an evangelist. And I actually, this one night, God told me to go to the live podcast because there was a new video. And I went and there was a new video. I think it was maybe like posted something hours or a day before I had then gone on it. And it was the guy from Rise on Fire Ministries channel. And then I went to his channel. I guess I was interested. And I was like, oh, okay, I think I went to his channel because I was like, oh, whoa, he's like, I think he's talking about spiritual gifts. Because, oh, I forgot to say this. After, like, that last, like, revelation that I was talking about, it's like I just so suddenly wanted to, like, was just interested about the spiritual gifts, even though I had, like, heard not very much about them or hardly anything about them. I just, like, knew they were a thing. And there's this longing in me to know about the spiritual gifts. At that point. And so when I saw this guy's channel, I was like, whoa. I was like, this is so amazing. There's like all kinds of videos. It's like 700 videos. Right now he might have like 800 or 900 or something. I would just watch them for hours every day. He like prays over people and he's an evangelist. And I was like, I want to do that too. And, God was really like drawing me then to evangelize, like praying, healing over people, praying that, and even just like going out and just praying for somebody, even if like they don't need healing, just going out and praying for somebody. I am an introvert. Sometimes there will be once in a while I don't seem so much like an introvert, but I would definitely say I'm an introvert. I don't like being an introvert. I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone more, and this was definitely like getting out of my comfort zone because God was like calling me to go and pray for people. And so I would like try to find ways, and I was like, it seems kind of bad, like but it seems it's so outlandish. I'm praying over people that when one midnight I told God that I was planning on praying for this person, our friend, when we went to their house that weekend, when we would go to their house. And the next morning, I was like, whoa, what did I just tell God? And I was like freaking out. I was like, oh wow, I gotta really work on myself. I gotta really prepare myself. And when we got to our friend's house that weekend, I was like shaking so bad. And like when I was praying for her, I was choking up. That's how like terrified I was at first. I will say I still need to get over a lot of stuff, and I'm just really really trying to trust God, and that's like, I'm still hugely going through that. God's taking me through that. I was just like maybe throwing a little bit like interesting things about like that God has called me to be an evangelist, and also musician. I don't know if that'd be the right word. Music artist at least, and I don't know when I imagine a musician, I imagine someone professional, and I'm not professional. I had this like super interesting dream. I'm not even sure, like, it almost didn't even seem like a dream. But there's like, it felt like in my dream, it felt like it was like 2 hours. It sounded like this sermon, like a strong sermon crying out as someone was preaching. It seemed so intense, and I was seeing all these people who needed healing, like hundreds of people. And eventually, like in the dream, I'm seeing these people receive healing because I think people were praying over them. And like I heard in my dream, like just these random cries cry out, like people need healing. Who will help them? Who will pray for them? And so that was interesting. And then also, my brother and I were in like a vehicle going somewhere. And, well, okay, so my mom was driving. And my brother and I were in the back seat, my younger brother and I. And he, like, suddenly starts, like, choking up. And, like, just very suddenly. Like, he seems like he's just fine. And then he's just all of a sudden, like, choking really bad. Like, it was so bad. And then immediately, as soon as I say, like, he was maybe choking up for, like, maybe 10, 20 seconds. Immediately when I command it to leave, it is immediately gone. Like, the second I say that, it's like, whoa, what did I just see? It was awesome, absolutely awesome. Like, how God was telling me through that that's what He wants me to do, like, to pray over people. I think to pray over people in general, and to share His word, and also pray healing over people. Once you said, like, let go of the world more, like, you know, I was letting go of unforgiveness, and letting go of, like, focusing on people so much. Like, tremendously focused on people. Wear darker colors because I just didn't feel like smiling anymore. And I just felt so hopeless. But after letting go of all these worldly things and submitting myself more to God, and He can just use me so much more. And He can do this for all of us. He can just use you so much more when you like just let go of all these things. And it is really hard. It is so hard to let go of all these things sometimes, but it is so worth it. I am definitely struggling in so many areas of life. So don't think that like, oh, this girl kind of has it all. She gets her life figured out. No. I feel like I probably don't look like that, but I totally don't have my life figured out, just in case you'd be thinking. I am in, I would say, still in a pretty big mess. I think we all usually are. If I didn't think I was in a big mess, I think there's a bigger problem that I can't see my mess, because I'm just always going to be in a big mess until, like, you know, God takes us to a better place after we die. So many other things like He wants me to do with my life. So many fulfilling things, and it just living all for Him. Like ever since when He was guiding me away from focusing on people, but just focusing on Him, like, it's just so fulfilling, and you're not always having this sense of hopelessness, and you can live in just so much joy and fulfillment. So yeah, and God is also coming to be a music artist. This lady prophesied about maybe about a year ago. She's like, the Holy Spirit's gonna put a song on your heart. He's gonna give you a new song. Okay, so a few months later that I did write a song. And then, like, from then, I just started writing songs, almost like crazy. I would like to someday professionally record these songs. I have a YouTube channel, which I will link, so please check that out. They're not professional, but these are songs that God has laid in my heart, and I have felt that He wants me to just, like, go ahead and record these. I could be wrong, but I'm just hoping that this is the right thing. After the seeking God so much is just, life is so much more meaningful, and really doing very, like, being used by God so much in a very impactful way for His kingdom is just so incredible. And yeah, so that's where God's led me to. And that is like kind of how God has worked in my life.